Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe. Morning West, good setters. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Moment of chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream highs. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, or go better, or who cares? Trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy, Guardy3, and welcome to the And One Podcast. And it's going to be a fun day. We're going to be talking about some Mount Rushmores in the Pacific Division. And whatever we don't get done, we'll finish up on the morning show tomorrow. But of course, got to introduce you to my guy. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? Hey, what's going on, chat? Evening, all. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Ando? Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so we'll start out like we always do. Then we'll get right into our Mount Rushmore's underrated player of the week. Mo, who do you got for today?
I'm going to go with a guy that he's kind of unsung. He had a good career, wasn't a star, but he had his moments. And the guy I'm talking about is Dana Burrows. So if you don't know Dana Burrows, you've never seen him, think of a watered down version of maybe Steph Curry's. More of a perimeter player, a sniper. I think he's got a 50 game on his belt, could shoot with range, quick, could penetrate, but he made his living with his jump shot. I think he played for the Sixers, the Celtics, and a few other teams. Never really had one home, but an entertaining player, an explosive scorer. So I'm going to give a shout out to Dana Burrows.
And you know what? That is an absolutely fantastic shout out. And, you know, I love to hear it. He's just an absolutely great player. Like there's always so many tough players to pick, but you know what? I'm going to go with Spurs legend Bruce Bowen. This man, he was the funniest guy ever to me. One of my favorites, just because he couldn't hit a free throw. He couldn't really hit anything except the corner three. He was like the prototype for what PJ Tucker ended up being. And it was the greatest thing ever. That guy had clamps. He gave LeBron all he could handle in the 2007 finals. Just an absolute dog on defense. So I'm going to go with lockdown defender Bruce Bowen.
Great choice. And look, two things can be true. Like Dennis Rodman, I think Bruce Bowen, great defender. Wasn't a freakish athlete, super high basketball IQ, played angles, quick hands, strong hands, could defend bigger players. And like you said, from the corner, he was money. He's a winner. He's a champion. believe he's an 8 or 9-time All NBA defender. Yeah, Bruce Bowen was a dog. And I remember the matchups he had with Kobe Bryant, the matchups he had with guys like Vince Carter, the matchups he had. Tracy McGrady. Like Bruce Bowen played against some of the best perimeter defenders, and he gave as good as he got. So yeah, shout out to Bruce Bowen. That's a really good one.
Why don't we get right into it, Mo? We've been talking Mount Rushmores, and I have a feeling we got a couple teams on here that just might take up the entire show. I want to start with one of them, and we'll see. We'll go from there. So I'll give you the choice. Do you want to start with your Lakers, or do you want to start with the Warriors?
Oh, start with the Warriors. They're not really on the Lakers level, so you know.
Oh, hey, shots fired. I like it. All right. So, ready for some controversy? Because I couldn't tell who to pick for this fourth spot. I think with the Warriors, there are 3 locks: Steph, Wilt, Rick Barry, absolute locks. But the fourth spot, well, I had a lot of trouble with this one. I put Draymond here, but there's also Paul Reason, Chris Mullin, Clay. Like, there's so many ways you can go with this fourth spot on the Warriors Mount Rushmore. So I guess my question to you is, Mo, do you think you keep Draymond, or are we booting him off for another Warriors legend?
I'm not mad at the Draymond selection at the fourth spot. I think if you have him on there, you have him on there with he's a great defender, a great team leader, and he is a 4-time NBA champion, multiple-time defensive player. We just given out flowers to Bruce Bowen. Now you're talking about a guy like Draymond Green and a facilitator, a playmaker for the Warriors as well. I'm not mad at that choice. It's just that even though he's a winner, everybody else that's up there, their teams were built around them. Draymond's he's somebody that's built around Steph, not the other way around. So if I'm going with that criteria, while he's a winner and he has more titles than Barry or Wilt Chamberlain, I don't think they're actually equals. I think a guy like you would give some consideration to a guy like Nate Thurman. If you look at Nate Thurman's individual accolades and all the things that he's done, I would probably, if I was going to move Draymond out, it would probably be for somebody like him or Paula Reason. They're just more accomplished individual talents. I can't hate on the fact that he's a winner. It's just that he's a winner as a complementary player to the main guy. He's not the main guy. He's a guy.
That's literally who I was going back and forth with, ironically, before the show started. I didn't know if it was Draymond, if it was Paula Reason. Paula Reason did win a championship as the number 1 option back in 1956. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's really tough. Because after, a Reason, after these 3 guys, it's really a Reason, and then it's just, is it, obviously guys like Dre and Clay were built around Steph. Chris Mullin was a really good player, but obviously it wasn't really a lot of success there in the 90s. So I'm totally cool with bumping out Dre for Paula Reason. I think that's a great call.
Yeah, and look, anybody in the chat might go, no, Draymond deserves to be there. Like I said, I don't think it's a crazy selection. I'm just saying that when you look at the other 3 guys up there, what stands out about them, other than their numbers and the things they accomplished, that they were all centerpieces around the franchise, whereas Draymond is albeit a very important piece, he's not the guy. That would be my only drawback with him.
Hey, fair enough. So it seems like that we're going to take out Draymond and we're going to put in Paula Reason, which I am 100% A-okay with. So
sounds good.
The real challenge, Mo. Actually, I don't even know. It feels like, because I always had fun ranking these players after, just for fun. I think the greatest Warrior we can agree on is Steph.
Yeah. I think it's Steph, then Wilt.
I think it's actually Bear. I think it's right in order, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think Wilt is the greatest. I want to say he's the greatest Sixer. He's one of the greater Lakers. The question is, in the Lakers pantheon, though, would he be top 4? I don't think so. That's me.
Lakers pantheon? Nah. I don't think he was in LA long enough. Like, the Lakers are so stacked that if you're not there for like a solid 10 years and highly effective in all 10 years, you're probably just not going to really come close on that one.
Everybody can't be Robert Sacre.
Oh, yeah. We listen, I don't even need to show the Lakers one. We know who it is. It's Sacre, Marcelo Huertas, Mush Parker, Kwame Brown.
Tariq Black. Yeah.
Oh, that was real. The real hoops is when the Lakers had Tariq Black.
Facts.
But you know what? While we have a little fun, Mo, just unveil the Lakers right away.
Let's do it.
The real powerhouses. So, I think people might not like me for this one, but I actually think I nailed the Lakers. And this is what I mean, right, Mo? Like, when your fifth best player is your fourth best player in history is a toss-up between Jerry West and Shaquille O'Neal, like, you have to be an absolutely absurd talent to even think about getting into this Mount Rushmore. I got Kobe, Magic, Kareem, and Jerry West.
So I think the top 3 for me are easy, right? Kobe, Magic, Kareem. Jerry West is unique because I totally can understand the argument for Shaq, because Shaq has the three-peat, a dominant three-peat. Shaq's made multiple All-NBAs, All-Star teams, all those things aside. Shaq has an MVP. I believe Jerry West has an MVP. He has a Finals MVP. He's the only guy to win Finals MVP on the losing team, I believe. And let's not forget, he's the logo. Like, there's certain, you know what I mean? Like, that's a standard right there. He is the logo. Jerry West played in 10 NBA Finals, and everybody knows the history. They knew that he couldn't break through. He couldn't beat the Celtics. And he lost 9 times till he broke through. The argument for Shaq would be Shaq won 3 championships. Shaq has 3 Finals MVPs. What I would say is, though, look at Shaq's total career. Look at Jerry West, the body of Jerry West's career versus Shaq's. Jerry West has a strong case. I'm a Laker fan. I appreciate everything Shaq did there as a member of the Lakers and how dominant he was over that 3-year period. But Jerry West was the same player from the beginning of his career to the very end of his career, even still playing at a high level when he was older and not at his peak. I have no problem with these 4. Somebody else might argue them, but I think through and through, these are the Lakers. These are the Lakers. You could make a case for honorable mention for Shaq and Elgin Baylor and Wilt Chamberlain, of course. Those kind of familiar names, Gail Goodrich and James Worthy. There's a lot of great Lakers over the years. If you go way, way back, you could bring up George Mikan. But the 4 that you put here, I think some people would disagree with it. Certainly, there's going to be more than a few people that would have Shaq either in West's place or Kareem's place, actually. But you nailed the top 2, and I actually think you got it right all the way around.
I think a crazy stat to note with Jerry West is he has more All-NBA first teams with the Lakers than Shaq has seasons played with the Lakers. Like, Jerry West has 10 All-NBA first teams, and Shaq spent a total of 8 seasons with the Lakers. Like, it is an absurd 10-year run. And he was a 14-time All-Star, but just an absurd run. And that's what made it so hard, though, and that's how stacked this team is. Not like, I feel like I'm just snubbing somebody like Shaq, Baylor, Will, like.
No shortage of great players. Kobe grew up with the Lakers. Magic grew up with the Lakers. West and was his whole career was the entirety of it. Those were like Lakers through and through. Look, you could say Kareem and Shaq came over and they established themselves as Lakers, the same way Wilt did. But I find it hard to believe anybody would move Jerry West off this list. Like I said, I think it's a great list. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, all of them have a lot in common. It's the winning championships. They've all won MVPs. Jerry West, people forget he earned the title logo because in his prime, he was the man. Like other guys had more success. Obviously, the Russell's Celtics were the dominant team of his era. Jerry West was the dominant player of his era, along with Wilt Chamberlain. But Jerry West was the dominant perimeter player of the era, right? Like could play make, could drop 25 or 28 on your head, great shooter from range. Jerry West was shooting threes when they weren't called threes. They were just jump shots, deep jump shots.
Yeah, it's funny to me when it comes to. I remember this one time, though, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. Somebody had the most bizarre complaint about Jerry West, and because the conversation was about his Finals MVP where he lost. They lost his actual series, and somebody's complaint was, "Well, Jerry West didn't rebound well enough to win Finals MVP." I'm like, that's the argument you're coming up with? Like, he's on the court with Wilt, Bill Russell, and Elgin Baylor. Like, how many rebounds do you think this man is getting? Like, he gave you 38, 7, and like the fact he almost got to 5 rebounds that series is absurd in itself. And he went for 42, 13, and 12 in the closeout game. Like, just an absurd talent. And I guess the next challenge, Mo, ranking them. Who is the best Laker of all time? Is it Kobe or is it Magic? Because I'm sure that's probably what it just comes down to.
It really comes down to those two players. And I would say that there would be no shortage of people that would say Kobe. And they would tell you what separates Kobe from Magic is because Kobe was an all NBA defender, whereas Magic was an average defender at best. By the way, both those things are factual. They're true. What I would say is different about them is, even though they have different leadership styles, Magic was a better leader. Throw the smile out and all that. Magic Johnson was a great leader, not just on the floor, but in the locker room. Like, I think that if you could break basketball down into a game of one-on-one, I don't know if anybody would beat Kobe Bryant in a game of one-on-one. But basketball's not a game of one-on-one. And you put Magic Johnson on the floor with 9 other players, 9 times out of 10, Magic Johnson team's going to win. So I love Kobe. But I think a lot of Laker fans who grew up with him, very similar to Magic. People forget Magic got there, I think, at age 19, and Kobe got there at age 17, and then didn't start playing. And then he started playing when he was 18. But they both grew up in that city, and I think that they had more time with Kobe as a player. And Kobe also grew up. He caught part of when the wave broke on social media. Kobe was part of that. So I get what Kobe means to a lot of people in the city, and a lot of people have number one. Look, if you have Kobe number one, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that we just disagree on that. And you can certainly tell me why you think Kobe's number one, and I'll tell you why I think Magic's number one.
No, and I actually agree with you. I think Magic was the better Laker. I would go Magic, Kobe, Kareem, West. But actually, I think even the West and Kareem part on who was the better Laker is interesting. Like, I'd still go Kareem, but I think Jerry makes a very compelling case as to why he should be number 3. But I would still lean Kareem.
And he might be, honestly. West might be number 3 because I think we have to separate greatest Laker versus greater player. Like, I think Kareem is the greater player of everybody up there. But a lot of his greatness, or I would argue his peak, he was playing in the Milwaukee's Bucks uniform. When he went to the Lakers, correct me if I'm wrong, was he 29, 30? I mean, still a young man, but I would say he had two careers. And the Laker one was more successful team-wise, but as an individual talent in terms of what the numbers he put up, the stuff he did with Milwaukee is insane.
Yeah, and I say it's so tough because, Kareem was still racking up MVPs. West, once again, just an absurd talent during his 14-year run with the Lakers. Kareem was only 1 year off of him. He was age 28 through, age 41 season he spent in LA. So, yeah, no, it's tough, and I would not complain about anybody which direction they'd rather go between West or Kareem, but I think my official order, I think it would be Magic, Kobe, Kareem, and then West, but it's all separated by like a hair.
And they're all just so great. We forget. I don't forget. I remember Kobe, the rookie, shooting those air balls in Utah. And I think the Lakers lost that series in 5. And then I remember Kobe coming back. He had gotten the lab, being the kind of guy that he is, and he was still coming off the bench as a 6-man, but he made the All-Star team his second year as a 6-man. He was just relentless, and just had an appetite to improve and develop his own game. It was fun literally watching that young man grow up before you. It was fun watching Magic. I think that's why they're at the top, not just because they won, not just because they were great players, but you kind of get to see them evolve through the years.
No, absolutely. And I think evolving through the years, I'm going to use this to kind of make a point for another sport. I think that's why the expansion for the WNBA is so important, because I feel like that's one element that's missing from the WNBA. With all these rookies that get cut every year, like I feel like a big part of the fan base is just watching these young players develop from year one into what they are. So I'm definitely excited about the expansion, and I think what you just kind of said, Mo, is just so important to, generating new fans and, kind of creating these iconic franchises.
And look, you know what? In a lot of ways, there's a little 6 degrees of separation going on, because if Jerry West wasn't the player that he was, didn't have the mentality that he had, Kobe Bryant wouldn't be a Laker. Jerry West saw Kobe Bryant in high school, watched him, and knew he had him come to the Lakers multiple times before the draft to work out. Playing one-on-one against established players. He played a one-on-one game against Michael Cooper, who, if you know Michael Cooper in his prime, was one of the great wing defenders. And in the one-on-one, Jerry West said Kobe just ate Michael Cooper alive. He couldn't do anything with him. But he saw something in Kobe as a competitor, a fire in him that Jerry West had. That, like, nobody talks about it because you're talking about back in the day, but look up the history, look up what people say about Jerry West. Jerry West was a dog. He had that it in him, and he saw it in Kobe. So look, I'm going to give the logo extra flowers because he recognized what Kobe could become and did not hesitate on draft night to trade an established player, Vlade Divac, and a pick to go get Kobe Bryant.
And the funny part about Jerry West is arguing for this 4th spot. I could either went with Jerry West, the player, or Jerry West, the executive.
That's a good
both
point.
of them were equally as important to the Lakers.
Facts.
Which is wild to think about. Like, Jerry West was so dominant as a player, but he might just be an even better executive, which is scary to think about. Like, he helped build Showtime. Like, everywhere Jerry West goes, he seems to just fix teams and build winners.
He is associated with winning. I grant you that. I think at one point he was associated with Steph's Warriors. He just has a great influence, or had a great influence over the game. I would argue, you bring up a great point. The logo, he didn't put up the numbers as an executive, but he won more. He had more impact, I think, as an executive, almost as much as he did as a player. I think that's a great point.
So when it came to Shaq, John, he was actually right in debate for that 4th spot with him, between him and Jerry West. So like he was right there. He was that close to cracking the Lakers Mount Rushmore. But
Yeah.
we went with Jerry over Shaq. Yeah, in shape Shaq is a scary thought. Well, we kind of saw it. We saw him in Orlando, and then he just kind of got bigger. But yeah, that would have been a fun sight to see.
Agree. Yeah, look, to have had the great career that he's had, Shaq's had a great career. He's one of the few guys that has had a great career, and yet at the same time, you could still use the words "what if," that he could have, because he could have been even greater.
All right, hey, so it's gonna be a pretty funny drop off here, because I'm gonna go straight to the Kings after the Lakers. This is a team that just has not had a lot of success in recent memory. Like, you kind of have to go back to the Royals to really get the full Kings history, because once, like, you get past, like, this big three we got of Oscar, Jerry Lucas, and Tiny Nate Archibald, it gets kind of depressing. But the 4th spot, to me, it's a battle between Chris Webber or Mitch Richmond. And I personally went with C. Webb. There's other guys, obviously, shout out, Cousins, and, to a lesser extent, De'Aaron Fox. But, yeah, no, once we kind of get into the actual Sacramento Kings and just, like, into the more modern era, it's slim pickings for the Kings.
I can't argue with this list at all. Yeah, you could put Mitch Richmond's name up there. And look, The Rock was a great player, but he didn't have a lot of postseason success when he was with the Kings. And that alone is why I would give C. Webb the edge. I mean, C. Webb not only took them to the postseason, but they pushed the Lakers in a couple of series that they could have easily won with a call here or there. Those early Sacramento Kings, that squad, that's probably one of the top 10 teams that didn't win a title in the NBA history. You know what I mean? Like, it was a great team, but they couldn't quite get over the hump. The same way as that Portland team that took the Lakers to 7. That Portland team actually made the right before your eyes, Kobe and Shaq came together, and you get that signature crossover of Scotty and then the lob of Shaq. That was the start. Beating that Portland team in Game 7, that was the start of the Lakers three-peat. So moments like that do matter. I think Chris Webber was terrific. He was always a terrific player, but I truly felt like he found his home in Sacramento.
And some would argue that, obviously, Chris Webber, the argument is he was arguably a reffing scandal away from being the best player on a championship team. A lot of people talk controversy in that 0-2 Lakers series.
Look, I'm a Laker fan. So, first of all, I'm going to take the win. But if you go back objectively and watch Game 6, that's hard to watch. I've watched it once or twice since then, and it doesn't get easier to watch the more you watch it. It is ugly. It's bad stuff, man. And here, I remember at the time, though, when it happened, I had Kings fans complaining to me, and I was like, why are you whining? Game 7 is in Sacramento. I said, if the Kings are better than the Lakers, they'll win at home in Game 7. They didn't. because, I felt like the Lakers were better, but I digress. The point is, Game 6 it's got to be the worst called basketball game I've ever seen.
No, that's fair enough. That is exactly what obviously people like to point out is that Game 6, it wasn't an easy watch. It's funny. People complain about all the foul calls, nowadays, and there are too many at times, but man, when people are talking like, oh, this was the golden era of basketball, I think people forget there are some absolutely brutal, just downright brutal, like, games and series to watch when it comes to free throws. Obviously, that Game 6, 2000s, Milwaukee versus Philadelphia. Milwaukee was irate and got themselves, fined because they were so mad at free foul calls. Of course, the Wade series, I love how people almost act like just free throw merchant and just all these bad foul drawing just started existing recently when it's always been there. You just have to look for it.
That Bucks team was better than the Sixers team. Really, if you went top to bottom, you could say Iverson is the bigger star. No argument. But that Bucks team had Ray Allen, Sam Cassell, and Big Dog Robinson. The second leading scorer in the Sixers was Aaron McKee. I think he averaged 16 a game. The reason why they lost that series was, one, I can bring it up and people will go, oh, no, it didn't matter. It absolutely mattered. Hand checking was okay back then. And the Sixers were built to play a certain way. And if they can muck up any game, any series, and make it a grind, which is what they did, they beat the Bucks up. They wore them down. They got away with a lot of stuff. Nothing illegal, mind you, but the way the game was played, lesser talented players had a bigger impact on games because you were allowed to put hands on people. It's just facts.
And the league completely screwed us after that Game 6. I cannot be convinced otherwise. If people don't know what I'm talking about, Scott Williams gets called for a flagrant 1, but the league decides to upgrade it to a flagrant 2 after the game, and it gets him suspended for Game 7. If people obviously don't know how big Scott Williams was, one of the biggest problems with the Bucks against the Sixers also is they didn't really have anybody to match Dikembe, so Scott Williams was an extra body and a lot of size to really help keep the Sixers off the board. So he got suspended. He missed Game 7, and then Dikembe just feasted because he was just an overwhelming force, and even being down one guy, it was just too much to bear between him and Iverson.
I would tell people, look up. That was the 2001 conference finals, right?
Yep.
Look up the 2001 conference finals. Go over and look at the shooting percentages for each individual player. That series literally could be the blueprint for the way the game was played. I don't know, from 90 to 2005. The shooting percentages were so I think Ray Allen averaged 23, 24 points a game for the series, but I think he shot under 40%. It was crazy. And I don't want to just say the physicality was the only reason, but look at the Sixers team. That wasn't a talented team, but what they had was they had an incredible elite next level volume scorer in Iverson who was relentless, and everybody around him, they were goons. They were goons. He had a squad of goons, and Larry Brown knew how to coach him up, and he made it work.
And yeah, no, absolutely. By the way, shout out to Peja Stojakovic. People forget how good Peja was. Chris Webber goes down with an injury, which ultimately pretty much ended his career.
Agreed.
He came back from that injury. He was just never the same. But what happens? Peja's 4th in MVP voting in 2004. He puts together a phenomenal season to keep the Kings afloat while Chris Webber's out. And ironically, the team was much better run through Peja than Weber when Weber finally did come back. So shout out to Peja, and especially that 2004 season.
What I love about Peja that year is that he showed you that he was more than just a jump shooter. Like, you got more Peja attacking closeouts and going to the basket, getting to the foul line more. Like, he added to his game and showed you that he was more than a catch and shoot guy.
No, absolutely. What's up, Sijin? Thank you for tuning in.
Appreciate you, Sijin.
But no, yeah, that's the only part I was salty about with that Bucks 76ers series.
I remember
Scott
watching
Williams,
that series.
Yeah, it was just Scott Williams getting his foul upgraded after the game to a flagrant 2. I'm like, what? No, that did not happen. Because obviously I wasn't alive for that series, but I try to go back and watch as much old hoops as I can. And I was reading up on it, and I read about it, and then just kind of watched it play out. I'm like, oh, that was a big deal, wasn't it?
I remember before that series, I really thought the Bucks were going to win. I had watched the Bucks through the playoffs, and how the big three took turns taking over at different times, and I just thought, all right, the Bucks just have too much firepower for the Sixers. Like, I get how they beat the Raptors because it really came down to a game of one-on-one Iverson versus Vince Carter with role players, and Iverson pulled it out in Game 7. But like I said, the Scott Williams things, you're 100% right about. That was crazy. That was beyond controversial. But the fact that it was a 7-game series is because the Sixers played the series at the pace they wanted to play it at. They didn't want to play fast. Iverson played fast, but the rest of them, they wanted it to be a grind, and that's what they turned the series into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great, fun series to watch, especially if you love some old school basketball. If you like physicality, go back and watch that series. It's kind of fun.
It's also one of those series, though, that made the competition committee go, we got to do something.
What really pushed them over the top was the 04 finals one. We're 3 quarters in, and it's 68-65.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I witnessed it live. I witnessed it, and I knew something was wrong. Whenever Mark Cuban, who hates, and I do mean hates the Lakers, when Mark Cuban is advocating for the Lakers, that's not good. They beat Detroit, to their credit. Those Pistons, they beat the brakes off the Lakers.
Yeah, no, you never expected it, but it's funny because you're like, all right, if Detroit pulls it out, probably have to do it like an epic 6 or 7 game series. Now they just came in and stomped the crap out of him and went home.
Brett, I was not expecting it. I was actually expecting what you just said. I thought because Detroit was so great defensively that they could make it a 6 or 7 game series. I did not think they would dominate the Lakers so thoroughly.
Yeah, and hey, they made it to the finals the year after. We're this close to not making it. They almost lost to the Nets, but shout out Tayshaun Prince with one of the most underrated chase down blocks of all time.
The block, that's a great block. And don't forget, they were set up to repeat, even though they were in a game 7 with the Spurs. And what happens? She makes a terrible rotation and leaves Robert Horry wide open.
Oh yeah, no, I say you definitely can't be doing that. I say this one was kind of hard for this last spot, Mo. The Lakers' baby brother here, the Clippers.
Yeah,
I feel like I think the first 3 I felt like were pretty like locks. CP3 and Blake Griffin were just such a fantastic duo for LA. Bob McAdoo, absolutely terrific talent. I actually think he's the second best Clipper behind CP3.
I would agree.
The 4th spot's interesting because on one hand, Elton Brand, very good. Obviously, very good for a long time for them until he had an Achilles injury, and then naturally Philly paid him a lot of money? Or is it just Kawhi Leonard, who's also just dealt with a myriad of injuries in LA? So I had no clue which direction to go here. Is it Elton Brand or is it Kawhi?
So I would take Kawhi, even though look, he went to the Clippers with the goal to win a title. That has not happened. But I would remind anybody that's seen the Clippers and knows the history of the Clippers, the Elton Brand led Clippers, they didn't win anything. They might have made it to the playoffs once or twice, but the Kawhi Leonard Clippers had more success than the Elton Brand Clippers ever had. And more importantly, Kawhi Leonard is just a better basketball player than Elton Brand ever was.
Hey, no, and you know what? That's fair enough. I could be swayed either way, and it wouldn't be too hard. Shout out to Elton Brand. He was nice. DeAndre Jordan was somebody I thought of too, but
I mean, he could get love, but I mean, there's a lot of people I would put ahead of him. But he could get some love. DeAndre Jordan.
In Clippers lore, I can't put him ahead of either Brand or Kawhi.
I don't even know if you can put him ahead of Paul George. I think that DeAndre had a great run with the Lob City Clippers, but remember, he was the third guy on that team. Blake and CP locks. Bob McAdoo, no problem with that one either. Like I said, I can see people arguing for Elton Brand. I would go with Kawhi. I was trying to look for somebody else, but they really haven't had, even though they're like the Lakers' little brother. Their biggest claim to fame is when the Lakers weren't very good, they used to beat the Lakers in the regular season. But beyond that, the Lob City Clippers, they didn't do anything. They didn't win anything. They didn't make any noise. They didn't do anything.
Oh, it's so funny. People are like, why didn't the win more? And I'm just kind of like, well, you see, they could never figure out the small forward position ever. And I always thought that was just so funny because you're looking, it's like one of these things is not like the other. You're like, yeah, Chris Paul, JJ Redick, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. I guess that's what we're doing now.
No, but I look, like I said, entertaining team. Lob City Clippers were fun to watch. And there were a couple of years, if just to be clear, where injuries did kind of interrupt their runs in the postseason. Of all the great superstars, there's been a few of them. Has anybody had more bad timing when it came to injuries? Like some guys are out and they miss whole seasons. Chris Paul plays pretty much the whole season and gets injured almost all the time in the postseason.
Yeah,
no, go ahead. That's where I was going with it. I like the four guys that are up there. Yeah. Are you good?
Hey, shout out John through.
Randy Smith was an Iron Man. I think he held the record of consecutive games played. That's a good one, John. Good looking out. That's a really good one. And we're gonna give DeAndre Jordan some love. He was all NBA defense, so I got it.
Yeah, sorry, my internet acted up there for a second, so my bad.
All good. John let us know technical difficulties, but all good.
Love how it works when I don't really need the internet. It's perfect. As soon as I actually need it for something, it likes to act up.
Yeah, but I think the Clippers, like I said, Elton Brand has a case. Randy Smith should get some love. You could. What about those young guys when they had Corey Maggette, Lamar Odom before he became a Laker? They've had a lot of talented guys there. Don't forget Jamal Crawford was there. Jay Cross put up numbers as a Clipper. I just think the Clippers, because they were bad for so long, who are you going to take off of those teams in the 80s? Nobody. The only guy that was relevant back then was Bob McAdoo, who also won an MVP. So I think most of the success came in the modern era.
Yeah, no, and that's fair enough. And you know what? Got one last team in the Pacific Division. I'll cap it off with a nice little run of nostalgia here.
Technical difficulties, I'm guessing. Brett's internet going in and out, but I'm looking at the four players: Steve Nash, Charles Barkley, Book, KJ. I actually like the four players that Brett has. You certainly could make a case, and I'll put the names out right now: Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Walter Davis, the Greyhound. And somebody might, I mean, I don't know if he was there long enough, but Jason Kidd he's great everywhere he played, but he was still like at the peak of his powers when he was a member of the Suns. But I do like it. Nash, 2-time MVP. That offense, they were doing the small ball thing way ahead of time. Remember, Amari played center, Marion played power forward. They took turns with either Joe Johnson or Rajah Bell playing the three. Actually, that team was as entertaining a team that you could see in any era when it comes to watching them play and how quickly they played. And Steve Nash was the perfect orchestrator for that offense.
Say Walter Davis.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, the Greyhound.
Say Kidd will definitely be on a different Mount Rushmore. He just didn't really play long enough in Phoenix. But yeah, this is another name to consider. Tom Chambers.
The great thing about Tom Chambers is he was a bucket, but for a 6'10" dude, Tom Chambers had hops. He was getting after people. He was putting people on posters. Yes, I love the Tom Chambers mention. Another great player. Barkley, look, all he did was get there, have an MVP year, take them to the NBA Finals, and came up short against a really good Chicago Bulls team, a great Chicago Bulls team. But yeah, I like the Barkley choice because while he was there, Phoenix was literally always in title contention. You got to respect Book. I think Book is one of the silent assassin stars that we don't talk about enough. Book's been great from the outset. I still think his management didn't do him any favors by making panic moves, and now they're kind of in a mini rebuild. I hope, by the way, anybody ever watched the Entrance to N1, Brett points out that he thinks Book will be a member of the Houston Rockets. I still think that's possible. I hope it happens because I want to see Devin Booker while he's still in his prime competing for titles.
Yeah, and the Rockets still have what the Suns probably desire most. They have those
Picks.
Phoenix Suns picks. So
yeah.
Pretty much, hey, we'll take Devin Booker and you can have your future back. So it'll be a little more challenging to trade for him now. We did just get that extension, but I think the Rockets and Suns can make something work. I'm not sure how much longer D-Book wants to stick around if they if the Suns, for example, have a really bad year next year.
Yeah. Look, the Suns might have a terrific season, but if they do, Brett, it'll be a season that I don't see coming. When you look at their roster top to bottom, that is not a good roster. It just isn't. But I digress. This is about their Mount Rushmore. Nash is a 2-time MVP, and he's an easy one. Barkley is an easy one. I think Book's easy. It's always the fourth guy that you can make a case for if is or if isn't. But I think KJ is deserving. What's unique about KJ is he only made 3 All-Star teams, but he made 5 All-NBA teams. And that's kind of crazy to me. Not that he didn't deserve it, because if you look at his numbers, I'm surprised he didn't make more All-Star teams. But one of the reasons why he didn't make more All-Star teams, if you remember how the All-Star voting was done, which was primarily by fans, if you're a point guard, your chances of getting to the All-Star game when Magic Johnson and John Stockton are at the peak of their powers are slim to none. And then along comes a guy named Gary Payton, and how are you going to get there? But shout out to KJ, because just a dynamic point guard, terrific mid-range game, could get to the basket, dunk the ball, attack the rim over bigger players, has one of the most iconic dunks in NBA history over one of the greatest defenders in NBA history. So shout out to Hakeem Olajuwon. But yeah, I think you nailed this. You can certainly make a case for maybe Amari replacing KJ, because I think Amari is a 6-time, I want to say a 6 or 7-time All-Star, made a couple of All-NBA teams. I totally understand anybody that would go with Amari. Maybe some people would go further back and go with the Greyhound. I understand that too. But for my money partner, I think you nailed it.
Hey, fair enough. So that's our Mount Rushmores for the Pacific Division. This is for Phoenix. We both agreed for the Kings. Switched out Elton Brand for Kawhi Leonard. Switched out Dre for Paul Arizin. And then we both agreed on the Lakers Mount Rushmore, that this is the correct one. So I figure, KJ over him because KJ spent 12 seasons of fair. John asked, NBA topic, Kuminga subject. Coach said hard to play him with Butler, Curry, Green. He's refusing to sign the contract. Thinks Kings or Suns pick him up for that $70 million they were offering. If the Warriors are willing to trade him there, yeah, I think he's gone. I think that's best for both parties at this point. Like, I don't know what value you're going to get out of Jonathan Kuminga. Like, he doesn't fit the system in Golden State. He's not a bad player per se, but when the Warriors want to run a lot of off-ball movement, free-flowing, swinging, Kuminga's more like isocentric, kind of more ball hog, lack of a better terms.
I agree. I think no one questions Kuminga's talent, but the problem with the Warriors and Kuminga is there's a disconnect between their philosophy, their system, and just a lack of chemistry between he and a veteran team. Like, if whatever Golden State is going forward, they're a veteran team. Their 3 best players are 35 and older. So everything they do is for right now. And even if you wanted to slot Kuminga in as part of your future, he's not a franchise player. He's never going to be a franchise player. I think he can be a very good player, but I think he's more of an instant bucket kind of guy off the bench versus he's your number 1 or number 2 option on a title contending team, because I don't see that for him.
I found the disconnect between me and Jonathan Kuminga fans online. It's the funniest thing ever. Because we were talking about, I saw a discussion there, like, the guy was like, name 4 things that Jonathan Kuminga is above average in. I think this person named 1, finishing. Otherwise, he's like scoring, not really above average in that, but all right. Fadeaways, mid-range, creation, corner threes, point of attack defense, lob defense, rebounding. And I looked at them like, if he was well above average in all of those things, he'd just be an all-NBA level player. Like, you literally pretty much just said, yeah, he's Giannis with a point of attack defense. Like, what? He doesn't do all of those things well above average.
If I saw that, and I saw you posted that in the chat, and instantly I said, so Kuminga's got a burner account.
Yeah, I was like, if he was that.
And this isn't to say that he's not nice or he's not talented. I just don't think he's the kind of guy you can build around. I do think
Good.
he
They would dispatch
No, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, no, I think he's nice, but I think even him and his fans kind of overrated him there a little bit.
And they're almost like stunned that Golden State isn't like doing everything possible to retain him. I think they are. But if you're him, meaning Kuminga and his representatives, they feel like Golden State, what they offered him, they lowballed him. I don't know if that's true or not, because he's coming from it like, I'm the future of the Warriors, and the Warriors are looking at him more like, I think you can be a part of it, but you're not the future. Like when Steph goes, it's not going to be Kuminga's team.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, same, but that's all the time we have for today. I do know that there was an extension today, but we'll talk about that tomorrow on the morning show. You got to leave something for the morning show. Yeah, no, there's some good options out there for Kuminga. They just got to find common ground with the Warriors on a trade.
Right.
Anything you want to add before you get out of here, Mo?
No, appreciate the chat being so lively. Appreciate you, John, as always. Thank you guys for joining us. And make sure you join us tomorrow morning on Coffee and Sports in the Morning.
Yeah, and I apologize for the technical difficulties. Those are never fun to deal with, but we got it. It was a fun show, talking some hoops, and we'll be talking about the other side, and we'll be doing more Mount Rushmores next week, and we'll hopefully in between some more hoops news will break out. But catch us tomorrow. We'll be talking some NFL, WWE. We'll be talking the Mikal Bridges extension. Until that time, we thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.